What's up? What's up, dudes? A little bit of a late start today. Lot late start. Very late. So we're gonna try to get something done today. So last time we worked, we worked on waiting other player bug. We made good progress debugging it. This involved reviewing lock logic, which was found to be slightly flawed in some places, such as change attribute list, wherein we ended up changing regular locks to reentrant locks for recursive lock acquisition. And then we just staged and committed all of our changes. And something's up with my camera. It looks like it's like flickering. That actually makes sense because that's what my stuff does. It doesn't work because it's mine. So anyway, let's just go ahead to things to do, and let's look at not reminders but current issues. So we have review all lock instances. This is to ensure we are not missing places wherein we should be using the locks, reentrant locks. Found a couple of these instances associated with change attribute list. So it says review all lock instances to ensure proper logic. We did that. Review all instances of shared objects server side to ensure they are being properly locked. Okay, that's not done. And then change all instances of C1 C2 cal lock, C1 C2 cal reentrant lock. We already did that. So the only thing we actually have to do is review all instances of shared objects. Let me just change this task to... Alright. So let's go ahead and find all the instances of shared objects to ensure they're being properly locked. So let me try to make a list here of shared objects. So some shared objects would be the C1, C2 change attribute list. Those are shared. And what else do we have? We have more. The connections are shared between the threads because they both send to them. Yeah. Okay, what else is shared? Connection is the change attribute list. Well, I was thinking, like, what about the master deck? Isn't the master deck technically shared? Because the master deck, yeah, it seems like the master deck would be shared, right? Because we deal with it on the thread, and then like we append to it and pop from it on the main thread, and then on the two client threads we modify it as well. I don't know. like, why have I never added master deck to the list of shared objects before? I don't understand why I wouldn't have done that already if they were shared. I don't know, man. I'm like, I don't know if in reality the master deck is shared. The master deck is mainly, almost exclusively actually, modified through the main thread, because the deck is modified through progression of the game, which is handled by the main thread on the server side, and then you have, like, technically we do transfer, well, obviously we do transfer the deck data, but the real question is, is it competed for simultaneously? Like, if we were to receive master deck data from the client side, then that would mean, yes, it is a shared object. Meaning that both the main thread and the client thread would be accessing it could be accessing it at the same point in time, which would result in a race condition. So what I need to know really is if the master deck is handled anywhere other than, basically if the master deck is modified anywhere other than, like, from the main thread, which would be like progression, the progression file for the most part. So I want to say I don't think it is. I don't really think it is a shared object, but we're gonna review that. Just check. Just put master deck ? And then we're also gonna check locks to find them. So we're gonna do that first. We're gonna do Control-Shift-F, and we're just gonna do lock. And I want to see, like, I know I'm forgetting something that's shared. I already know there's something else that's shared, and I'm just looking over it. So there's the change attribute list locks. I already have that listed. This is the change attribute list function, reentrant lock, C1 cal. So yeah, this is C1 cal. Okay, same thing here. Same thing here. Let's keep going. Same thing here. Same thing there. Same thing. Okay. I feel like there's more locks than I know. We have the con locks, and I listed those already. C1 to C2 transfer lock. Okay, so here's another one that I forgot about. The locks which will be used to handle the C1 C2 to C2 C1 transfer lists, since they will be handled by both client threads. Okay. And I honestly, like, kind of forgot what the C1 to C2 transfer, what is that for exactly? Isn't that for whenever I send data from the client side to share it with the like other client so that it gets sent back out from the server to the other client. Not sure about that. Pretty sure that is the reason. But didn't we determine that client side, or rather, yeah, like client side, any changes that were made there didn't need to be transferred to the other client. I can't remember honestly for sure, but I thought we determined that. Anyway, let me write this down. So we have the C1 to C2 and C2 to C1 transfer lock. So this is C1, C2. What's it called? The transfer lock. This is, where is it? It's just C2 transfer lock. It's just called the transfer lock. Alright. And anything else? Do we have anything else that's locked? Okay. So what we need to do is yeah, that's all of them. That's all that I have locked so far. So it's just these three things: the C1, C2, change attribute list, the connections, and then the transfer log. But what I want to check is determine necessity of server side, or rather transfer lists. I thought we determined that all game adders didn't need to be transferred to the other client. Therefore, why do we need transfer lists? Yeah, why do we need the transfer list if this is the case? So what we'll do is go to files, and well, actually I can do Control Shift F, and we're gonna look for transfer. And now we can just start sifting through. Oh, we have a lot of these, like, okay, this is not transfer list. There we go. So we have the C1 to C2 and C2 to C1 transfer list. The list which contains the data that is intended for C2, C1, but which is received by C1, C2, since CS never sends in terms of other client. When the data is intended for C2, C1, C1, C2 receives this data and immediately passes it to this transfer list. The C2, C1 will periodically check this transfer list. If found to be populated, applies the data as if it was sent directly. Okay, but like, do we actually need this, man? Did I just make something that we don't even need? I hate it when I do stupid shit like that. Like, seriously. So we have to review the transfer section. So let's look for transfer section. Alright, here we go. So here we have start client to client receive data transfer section. And this is if current client ID is equal to 1, we sign the transfer lock. We have the transfer list. Received data storage for C2 to C1 received data storage dictionary. Okay, so this would this is like this is for whenever we're sending like receive verifications and stuff would fall into this category, right? Because whenever we send data from the server side in terms of client 1 and or like we from the server side, we even if it's the client 1 thread, we still send to client 1 and client 2. But client side, when we receive it, so we have client 1 and client 2. Client side, if client 2 receives from client 1, he can't send a receive verification back to client 1 directly. He has to send that through client 2, which means it's going to get received by client 2, but it needs to be transferred to client 1. Okay, yeah, so we do need that system. I was just making sure I didn't like make something that I didn't actually need. Very cool that I remembered that, because I was like, man, did I make a stupid decision? Okay, so we have next is we need to look at the master deck, right? Isn't that what we need? Yeah, so we checked all the locks with I just hit the wrong button. Alright, so now we're gonna do Control Shift F and we're gonna just look for .deck. And I want to see everywhere where this is modified. So this is prior face-up discard. So prior face-up discard, let's see. Prior face-up discard does that need to be? Well, I'm searching right now for what? I'm trying to determine if the master deck, the .deck, is a shared object, meaning that it's handled or modified by both the main thread and the client thread. Well, since this Well, we have code in place for it, but does that actually mean that it is received server side? If it's only received client side, it's not technically shared. Um, but if it's received server side, then it is. And why? It's because the scroll thing, this Google Drive is in the way. I was wondering why progression wasn't showing. That's definitely modified a bunch there. Okay, so this is just card group name dictionary. Don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Alright, there's the deck. Then we have this. So this is the draw animation, so this is triggered through the main thread. So that's done through the main thread, we know that. Master deck. This is all progression, so this is all gonna be main thread. So we don't even have to like look at this stuff. Okay, then we have setup. And setup, well, this is just the creation of it. Yeah, this is safe because setup only runs on each client and on the server once, so this is not going to be like handled by a client thread. Same thing here with setup. Alright, yeah, so that's it. So yeah, it's not a shared object. Okay, so we're good there. But if there's other, there could be other things other than the actual deck that are shared. Like, for instance, so we have the deck, the discard pile. We basically need to go through all this and determine if any of this is shared. I don't think any of it will be shared, but we can figure that out. And I'll add that to notes. Deck adders shared, and placeholder until we determine if any deck adders are shared objects need blocks. And we're just gonna paste in all these different attributes here. So it's only going to be stuff that gets modified. Well, why not? Yeah, even if we access it, a race condition in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's only if that thing is modified. But if it's never modified, it's like, I don't think a race condition could cause a problem. So we really only have to worry about stuff that's modified. Like Black 3's tube is not going to be modified, so we don't have to worry about checking that. Why does this look so ugly? Because it's messed up the indentation. So we get rid of these comments here. And yeah, get rid of all that shit. There we go. Self deck. You can just do Control Alt to put a pound sign for all those. And get rid of this extra code at the end. Obviously draw ranks is not going to be one. Draw suits ranks is not going to be one. Original deck is not, well, it shouldn't be. Red 3's 2 doesn't matter. Suits 2. Wild cards 2. Alright, so now we can also, that should be it. Now we can do shift end and then backspace, control backspace. There we go. So now that should have got rid of all the ones that aren't modified, and it should leave only the ones that are modified behind. And prior face-up discard is not transferred internal use, but we do. Oh, because that's derivative, but it is changed, and if it's changed, well, if we don't transfer it, then it would never be touched by the client thread, right? Like, it would only be checked on the main thread. If it's never modified, well, what am I saying here? If the prior face-up discard is derivative, but it's still modified, but would it be it wouldn't be accessed through dircheck on the server side because it's derivative. So what is it derivative of? Let me look this one up because so we do have this. It is transferred prior to face-up discard. Okay. So technically, I don't know. I feel like this is shared because this is going to be checked on the client thread, but it could also be checked on the main thread through like I don't know. I have to look at this more. This is a little bit more complicated than I initially thought. So transferred adders, prior face-up discard. Okay. It does need to be transferred. Alright, so it's a calculated property, and when we set it, this just makes sure that it gets transferred. Okay. So that means whenever we modify it on the main thread, it gets we create skeleton data and then append that skeleton data to the change attribute list, and the client thread detects that and then sends it. So the actual attribute though, the prior face up discard attribute, is not gonna be simultaneously handled. Like, it's not gonna be handled server side through one of the threads, because the main thread is gonna modify it through progression. Then that's gonna trigger an appendage of the skeleton data on the main thread, which is not the actual attribute. So it's not actually like gonna handle that same attribute. It's gonna handle a reflection of that attribute. And yeah, so let's see. Now on the client side, obviously it's gonna get sent to the client side, but client side doesn't contend because it's single threaded. So we do access it on the main thread, we set it on the main thread, and all that's going to do is create skeleton data for it and transfer it to the client. But if it's only modified here in progression, then it's not going to be considered a shared object as far as my brain is telling me. I'm pretty sure it's not, so I think we're safe on that one, so we can rule that one out. So go to notes, and this one is gonna verified not shared, and then we did deck already, so we know deck is verified not shared. And let's get rid of this equal sign, we just really want a colon instead. Now the original deck is, I don't think that's gonna be an issue, but we'll check it just to be sure. So let's check discard pile now. Yeah, so let's grab discard pile, do Control Shift F, and now we're going to, so what are we looking at here? If deck adder is not equal to prior face up discard. Alright, so this is when it's received on the client side or server side, if it's so modified. Custom append list, okay. Well, custom append list, well, this is another instance of, is it modified from the client side? If it's modified from the client side and from the server side, that means it's gonna be handled on the main thread server side, and it's also going to be received on the client thread server side, which is a shared object. But if it's only modified on the server side and transferred to the client, then we don't have to create a lock for it, because it's not actually a shared object. It's a little bit complicated. It's not that complicated, actually. Everything's simple when you understand it. Everything is simple when you understand it. Check to see if the card group name is so this is in custom append list. Checking to see card group name, and this is in append. So yeah, this is just transferring from the main thread unless it is modified on the client side, which we will see if that's the case. Okay. So this I might need to check if we have discard pile match card ref list. If we have face up discard modified through the, why is that not listed? Oh, I don't have so face up discard is not transferred, so it's definitely not going to be handled with a lock, so we're good there. Okay, let's just keep going through here. So this is discard pile text object. It's completely different. Now this would be object card object. Would this have any, like, would this have anything to do with being considered a shared object? That is the object card group dictionary, because this dictionary is accessed in the game file, which is going to be run client side, and it's also going to be accessed on the server side. So I'm trying to think here. If this is, the question is whether or not this game this section of code is handled by the client thread, and I'm just not sure about this. If I think it through, I'll be able to figure it out without actually having to look it up, I think. So this is only run through draw window main. So draw window main isn't even run on the server side. So this couldn't be competed for on a, as far as a needing a lock goes, it couldn't, because it's not even handled on the server side. Why? How could it? Okay, so we're safe there. Okay, discard pile location. Don't have to worry about that. So this is all going to be main thread stuff, which obviously this is going to be the majority of where the discard pile is dealt with. So yeah, you don't really even have to like check all this stuff. This is fine. Alright, moving on. And then we have still more in progression. Alright, so then we have setup, and that's when it's created. That's fine, we're not worried about that. This is the card group name dictionary assignment, and then that's it. Yeah, so we're good. We don't have to worry about that one. That one's not modified on the client side. So verified, not shared. And then the last two is going to be discard pile, match card ref list. This one shouldn't be hard because it's only used a little bit. Okay. Doesn't need to be transferred. So this isn't even transferred. So if it's not even transferred, then it wouldn't be handled by the client thread, because that's literally all the client thread does on the server side. Yeah, so we're good here. This is going to be all progression. This is assignment. Yeah, we're good on that one. That was easy. And now we can put verified not shared for this one. And then the original deck, this one's going to be even easier. I'm pretty sure that one's not going to be transferred at all. So there's the creation of it. This is set up. Sorry about that. Was that? No, that was progression. I'm sorry. And then setup. Yeah, and then we have the old features, etc. This is all. There we go. Okay. So what else do we have here? So we verified. Yeah. I just. Whoa! Didn't mean to do that. Put verified that none of the deck class adders are shared. Need locks. Okay, that was easy. Yep. Alright, so are not shared. Deck adders are not shared. Okay, so what was the broader thing? Okay, yeah, I was trying to see if that was a shared object. So we know that master deck is not shared. Well, what about like, okay, what about P1? We change this to P1 or P2, and then what about P1 game and P2 game? Because that could be transferred. I mean, could be shared. I'd need to determine whether or not it is. Okay, so I have to use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. Back. Oh, my back is totally fucked. I don't know what I did to my back, but I'm having back problems again. It's my lower back. I have an x-ray scheduled for tomorrow. I had to take vacation a week early at my job because it was hurting so bad. I don't have any sick days. Thought I did have sick days. I hit my 3-year mark at UPS, but so funny thing about that is you get 7 sick days, right? When you hit 3 years. Up to that point, you get one day. That's it, one day. Actually, you don't even get a day. It's called a personal day. It is paid, but technically you're supposed to schedule it, so it's more like it's not a sick day. It's just like a day. Anyway, they do let you use it as a sick day, but you don't actually get your sick days, your 7 sick days at your 3-year mark. I started April 12th, 2021. So you would think, okay, well that means April 12th, 2024, which is 3 years later, is when I get my sick day, right? My 7 sick days? Well, you would be wrong, because the way it works is you actually get them on January 1st of the year following your 3rd year. So if you started in January, then it's actually 4 years, basically. 3 years and 11 months. Now if you started in October, it's 3 years and 2 months, whatever. Yeah. So in that case, but they don't hire people. Once you start, if you start working at UPS after I think like October 15th, you're considered seasonal, and you're not even actually like, you have to get rehired after peak season. So you literally, they do that shit on purpose, so that when those people get rehired in, like, basically to hit that 3-year mark, you really have to almost always have been there for like at least 3 years and like 4 months. So it's not 3 years. It's closer to like 3.5 years. Sometimes it's like 4 years. So when you're working at UPS, just FYI, if you ever think about working at UPS, if you haven't been working there for 3 years and 3 months, you get 1 sick day per year. That's it. Nothing else. Anything else you miss, you get written up for it. Yep. So, would I recommend working at UPS based on that? I don't know. It's up to you. You decide. Smarter than me. Alright. Well, that was my little break. I had to take some more caffeine. Feeling tired. So like, I can't even walk around right now. I literally just have to sit on my ass because my back, like, I can't even do anything. Like, I've been trying to act like everything's fine, and I literally can't even like do nothing because my back's so fucked up. So I had to schedule an x-ray for tomorrow. Yeah, life goes on, doesn't it? It does. Okay, so we're gonna check to see if the P1, P2 is shared, and we're gonna go to notes and we're gonna add this as well. Let's put player objects shared, and just get something here, placeholder to until we determine if player objects are shared in the box. So that's what we're trying to figure out here. So let's go to, we're gonna just do Control Shift F, and we're gonna hit P1. Well, yeah. You know what? I didn't even realize this. Well, if none of the attributes are shared, then we know that the actual object isn't shared. I was gonna say I didn't actually check if the deck object, like the class instance, was shared on a broader level. But if none of the adders are shared, then then the object itself isn't shared. That's not technically true though, because Yeah, technically that's not true, but for our specific application, I'm quite certain we don't actually handle just the deck objects. Yeah, I'm pretty certain we don't. Well, every time we use an attribute we do, but we don't, independent of an attribute, like just deal with the actual class object, the instance object rather. I think we actually do that. So I'm pretty sure we're safe there. Alright, so let's look for P1. So then should we check for attributes, or should we check for like actual P1? It's gonna actually take some time, isn't it? So this is really review all shared objects, review all instance shared objects, and really what this task is actually, it's basically review all objects. Yeah, really we're reviewing all the objects. Review all objects to ensure they are not shared. They need locks. Okay. So we did the deck, verified, not shared. And then this one's question mark right now. Okay. So let's Okay, so I'm actually thinking that that the P1 object might be shared because we have the think about this. But wouldn't that mean the same thing for deck? Because like what we said about card group deck though, why it wasn't handled? Like we said, wasn't it the card group? No, not the card group name dictionary. But honestly, this would implicate the deck. Because yeah, this would implicate the deck actually. So if card group name dict was accessed through receiving item card let's see, what is this inside of? So this is actually only run server client side. So only client side do we use the card group name dictionary. I mean, we reviewed all this. I'm gonna trust that I did this correctly, but I'm wondering, like, why wouldn't this need to be run server side? Okay, because it's all connected to calling the func dictionary, which is for yeah, we verified all that's not necessary server side. Okay, so we're good so far. So yeah, that's good news. So obviously we don't want to have to use locks because it's just more work. This P1 game, we're gonna check P1 game separately. P2 game. All right, so this is in game. This is inside the initializer. We don't have to worry about that. This is for the yeah, we don't have to worry about that. That's set one time at the beginning when the game object is initialized. Same thing. Well, this well, we actually rerun it. So this would be, but since this is draw window main, this is only run on the client side. So this wouldn't have to be, wouldn't implicate shared because client, draw window main is only run on the client side. Okay, so all this, which is inside of draw window main, is irrelevant. What is this? Still inside draw window main. Still, and then okay. So we're good so far. These are just objects that use the namespace P1 but don't have anything to do with the actual P1 object. Now we have the hand next loc, which is in locations. Now this one does access the actual hand object. So to determine whether or not this is a shared object, okay, or this would imply that it's shared. This is a calculated property which is frequently accessed, but P1 hand next loc is only accessed in the context of draw window main. So this doesn't implicate it as a shared object. Yeah, pretty certain on that. Almost like 100% certain of that. So we should be good here as well. Same thing with these pre-sorted play card next location. Any of the next locs are only associated with draw window main. Alright, so this is card movement, and card movement is not used server side, so that wouldn't be implicated. And this is, where is this? Visual deck discard hand pre-sorted. Update. I didn't realize right up here it tells you what function you're inside of. I didn't know that. See it changed to a visual meld update. That's pretty cool. I was gonna point at it, but like where I point is not. Yeah. Anyway, visual meld update. This is only gonna be run client side. Client side. It's the same thing. Yeah, so we're good so far. Pretty certain anyway. So this is the actual player file, and we don't even need to like look at that because yeah. All right. So progression. This is all gonna be main thread, and yeah. So we don't have to worry about progression. We can just scroll all the way through that. Okay. So now we're at server. So we do import it. Okay, we assign it in threaded client through the global namespace. We access it. But that is a quote-unquote living object. Like, we don't. That's not a race condition. Well, threaded client begins before the progression loop begins, so this is safe as well. And then we have setup. I'm just gonna skip through that. Yeah, so all this is good. Setup, this is only run once per endpoint, so we're good there. And this is probably gonna be it. Oh, this is old feature storage. Okay, yeah, so we're done. I'm pretty sure there's nothing else after old feature storage. Test reminders, and then just the text files. Don't worry about that. Out. Yeah, so we're good on P1 and P2. Let's put this here. Verified. You can just copy this text. Verify that none of the meaning they don't need box. Alright, so what else? Your objects are shared. Are not shared. Okay. Then what else? So now we need to do P1 and P2 game. So let's search P1 game. Okay, so P1 game and P2 game. Oh, wait a second. Hold up. If the player object itself is not shared, but like, don't we modify the player attributes from the, well, no, we just verified that. Like, we don't actually send player attribute data from the client side, from what I just saw. Because if we did, then it would be hold up. I don't think I was thinking completely clearly here. Like, so this is more complicated actually. If an object is modified on the main thread and is also received on the client thread. Yeah, that was the two qualifications. So for player, actually, wouldn't that mean that player is shared because we modify player on the main thread and then we well, that was the question. Don't we modify it on the client side? And if we did, that would happen through game, the game file. So we need to go to game and just check this. So this is at an initialization. We're not worried about initialization. But I thought we said we modified it. So we do assign the prior name. But if prior name's not transferred, then we don't have to worry about that. So I need to determine if prior name is transferred. So prior name is not transferred. Okay, so we're good. Let's go back to game and so we don't have to worry about initialization. We can move on to draw window main. This is just namespace referencing. This isn't actually. The only reference is P1 name. Okay, and it's not if it's accessed. It's not if it's accessed client side. It has to be modified client side. Only if it's modified. And this is not modification, this is access, but not modification. Same thing for this, this is access, but not modification. Yeah, so we're good. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we're good. I was just triple checking there. Yeah, we even double checked. Alright, so now, it's actually my break. I did take like a little bit of a break. I took like a 3-minute break before. I'm on vacation though, technically. But I'll take a little minute, like a little 7-minute break real quick, and then I'll come back and probably do a little bit over an hour. Just get those 2 hours in for the day at least. Probably won't do a third hour because I started so late, and I'm gonna be crashing. I'm already feeling crashy. It's 4:30, so yeah. Anyway, I'll take a little break. I'll be back in a second. 5 minutes. What's up, dudes? Okay, I'm back. Alright. Alright, let me start my timer. Another hour. Okay. Okay, so what were we doing? We were reviewing to see whether or not P1 game, P1 game objects are shared. I don't remember qualifications for shared objects. One must be modified, accessed on main thread, server side. And then number two is must be modified, not accessed on client side. Yep, those are the two qualifications for objects that need locks server side. Or I'm just going to say server side locks. Okay, and lock, we'll just call this not lock necessity qualification. Okay, and so now we're looking up game objects are shared. Game. And this would mean if the object or the attribute is of the object. Speaking of the object or the object attributes. I mean, this kind of speaks for itself. Like it's. All right, so let's go through and it is a little late for caffeine, isn't it? But I am on vacation and I don't actually have to go to work in the morning, so I don't really feel like being this tired right now. Let's see if I can't wake myself up a little. I might actually have to take some of my pain medicine, and I hate taking my pain medicine. I don't like it. Just don't like how it makes me feel. It's a miserable experience. Hydrocodone sucks. It just makes you feel like shit after. Like it's. I don't even like how it makes you feel when you're on it. It's just terrible to say about a drug, right? You're supposed to enjoy it and then hate it later, but I don't enjoy it when I'm on it. I don't like it. It makes me like angry feeling. It's just not good. I don't know why people take that recreationally. It's like the worst thing. Anyway, so we have a client. Don't worry about this. This is the initial parts of the program. This is. Don't worry about this. So this is all progression. So that's going to be all main thread shit. All main thread. Yeah, you go right through this. Alright, so server, game. It's at the earliest part of the game. We don't have to worry about that. Other game setup. We don't have to worry about this. Yeah, that's it. That can't be it, right? Oh, I know. I'm being dumb here. I knew I was gonna overlook something. So let's just do deck first, and we have to look at self dot. I knew there was something. That's why you gotta sift through this stuff. You have to like mull it over. Because I didn't think about self references like well, I don't know, because well, so for deck at least, this is like something you won't know what you're talking about in the future. Like I was thinking of a way to word this in my notes, but there's really no way to word this. Like I'm just not gonna know what I was talking about in the future. Okay, draw a card. So yeah, this was something I looked over. We need to check on these. Like, we need to check to see where draw card is. So draw card is modified. Progression, let's see if it's modified at all in okay, so it's not modified in game. That's what I'm concerned about. That's really my concern, is places where in game it's gonna be modifying like a player attribute or something like that, or a game attribute that would qualify the object as shared. But that's what I'm going through this. And then has Canasta, I'm pretty sure that's not gonna be the case for has Canasta, but we're gonna look. So we have has Canasta, and this is all in round score. So then we have to check round score because it's derivative. So that's progression, we don't have to worry about that. But we do need to look for round score. So this is all going to be in. Okay, yeah, we're good. Okay, so back to player, and then we're just going to keep going through until we get through all these. Is that really it? Yeah, I know we made it to that. Okay. Alright, now let's do deck. Well, we did deck. We did deck and player. Okay, so we verified the self is safe for deck and player. But now we need to do P1 game, and did we actually finish looking for all the yeah, we did. Okay, so now we need to look up, and we don't need to look up P2 because they're interchangeable basically. What we do excuse me, caffeine, So we have, what's this called? We need to go to the game file. Let's go to game, and we're gonna do self. So we need to look up 718. That's a lot. Okay, so can I use the enter? Yeah, let's go through this very quickly. So anything that's in init, I don't need to worry about. So we can just go right through this. Alright, so we do need to check. So that's init, but then this is game state. Okay, so we do need to check game state. Okay, yeah, we're good on game state. Let's go back to the game. That is not that far. Okay, so now we need round and winner sound bool. Let's check this. Okay, we're good there. Click card active. Well, hold on. I don't think I gave that one a fair shake. I don't think I really... I just want to double check this one real quick. Derivative of round. Alright, yeah, that's it. I did. Double check. Okay, so click card active. See what we got here. Okay, so then we need to choose multiple cards, but then go back to click card active. Okay, right here, this is a modification on the event handler, which is client side. So trying to remember. Yeah, and I think I'm done. I'm just gonna quit now. I don't really feel like it. So we're reviewing click card active and yeah, click card active. So 512 adds game 5. So let's just put that. So 512 game 5. To 505. So we went we went basically an hour and 40 minutes, so I just say 1.75 hours, and we began reviewing all objects to determine whether they are shared need blocks. Source out blocks. So let's copy this. Now we're going to do Control Tilde to open up the terminal. We are in the root project directory. So we're going to add and commit and push our changes to the remote repository. So we're going to do git branch first to make sure we're on the right branch. We are. So we're going to do git add dot to add everything. We're going to do git commit -m double quotes paste double quotes. And 4 files changed, 25 insertions, 8 deletions. Now we're going to do git push Canasta secondary, and we're pushing to the remote repo now. Alright, so that's done. Now we can exit out of this, we can exit out of that. Now we'll go to programming, projects, Canasta. We'll copy this one, We'll go to backup. Is that right? Yeah. Right. We'll delete this old one. Hit OK for that message. Paste in the new one. And then we'll enter into it. Go to text. Go to devlog. I'll go to the very end, and today's date is the 30th, so it is updated properly. So now we can go to our backup folder, rename it to reflect